pivot now to number 7 on our list of New Mexico's top news stories of 2017. 2 high-profile measures failed at the polls this year. Santa Fe's soda tax and Albuquerque's Healthy Workforce Initiative. Now, that controversial proposed tax on sugary drinks, the so-called soda tax, would have imposed a 2 cents per ounce tax on sugary beverages to generate money for early childhood education. Supporters said the tax income would provide educational opportunities for the most vulnerable. Opponents called it a discriminatory tax that would have hurt small business, Inez, working families. 58% of voters who went to the polls voted no on that tax. In terms, how resounding was that, or was that a split vote when you come to no?
It was. I don't think it even won downtown. It lost everywhere.
Wow.
And if it did win downtown, it was very close. I can't remember.
Right.
But no, basically, people do not like to be told what to do.
Sure.
And the people in favor of the soda tax did a bad job of explaining either the public health necessity. The World Health Organization is recommending across the world there's should be a 10% tax on sugary drinks.
That's right.
Because they are much worse for causing diabetes than any other kind of food. So there's a public health emergency. So they took a public health emergency and then used it as a way to finance another good, which is early childhood education, and didn't explain either one of them well. People don't like being told what to do. Right. You can say it's a regressive tax because poor people would pay more of it. However, you don't need it, so it's not really a tax in that sense.
That's right.
And it just was a big mess. And for Javier Gonzalez, who was the mayor, who now is going to run for lieutenant governor, it's going to be one of those things he gets to explain on the campaign trail.
That's a good point. Let's go there, Matt. You know, Javier Gonzalez, he got out front on this. He decided to make himself the face of it. Well, maybe not made himself, but he became the face of it, if this is going to go or not. How did he fare out of this whole thing? Was it a worthy effort?
I think on its underlying basis, the idea of building out pre-K or early childhood education, that's worthy. I don't think, our 2 papers were on different sides of this editorially, and yet both agree that, this is a worthy pursuit. One of the interesting things to me was that it sort of took on a moralistic tone.
Yes.
And that was a big problem for the mayor. It was, and a savvy city councilor, Ron Trujillo, picked up on that and said, just because I'm against this doesn't mean I hate kids.
Right.
But I don't know if anybody out there remembers the Bill Richardson constitutional amendments in like 0304, where he wanted to create an education secretary and take a bigger chunk out of the permanent funds that's now sort of sunsetting. That had a very similar sort of tone, like, if you're against this, what does that say about you as a person?
Gotcha.
And I think people in Santa Fe really rebelled against that. We saw this, which you saw down here in Albuquerque too, with the idea that you need to provide sick days or whatever.
Right.
People,
That's right.
They're pushing back on this. And I think part of that is because the economy here is just not picking up.
Yeah, interesting point there. Mary, Inez mentioned outsiders. We had Mr. Bloomberg, who was, writing big checks for this. Did that contribute to that outsider telling us what to do feeling? You know what I mean? The big New Yorker, the media mogul, this is like his thing. Did that just not sit well with people?
Yeah, possibly. And then I think just messaging in general, that probably got into the mix and threw things astray. And I think, but at the end of the day, maybe voters were really focused on themselves, working class voters.
That's right.
Knew they'd be footing this bill
Classic
with their
pocketbook vote.
shopping
That's right.
to support school children, probably many of whom are from these working class families.
That's right.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Dan, I want to pick up on the Healthy Workforce Initiative that Matt brought up. It lost narrowly. I want to kind of swing back to, remember the back of the ballot with the entire, explanation in like 7-point, it was like eye-wateringly unbelievable. What was your sense of how that vote either went or did not? To recall, they had a bit of a push having some door walking help from Mr. Keller's group,
right?
During that as well. So.
Well, I think it was kind of another one where maybe the lesson was, even though this is a blue city, predominantly, don't take these things for granted. If your campaign isn't strong, if you don't have good messaging, I think now in the business community, did have a strong kind of counter argument against that.
Right.
Even in a mayoral race where the Democrat won handily, that we still saw that message go down. And I think to an extent that was in Santa Fe too. This kind of as you guys had touched on this, we know what's best for you a little bit message that people kind of,
That's right.
that turned them off.
Because the initiative comes from other places.
Right.
It wasn't born here, so to speak. So, yeah, interesting. Mary, I want to stay with you on this as well because Mr. Keller, our new mayor or mayor-elect, he does support this initiative. But there's a process we have in our city council to have this happen, if in fact this was to happen. Is that the way you anticipate this steering back if folks are not going to give up on this? Is that the way to go?
Yeah, unlike the soda tax, I mean, this vote was a lot closer
Yeah.
when it went down. And so I think it's going to come back. It seemed like, it did seem like maybe the pushers, despite having help from Keller, were not maybe quite as organized
Okay.
as the pro-business group that was against it.
Right.
So I think it's going to come back in some form.
Yes.
And we have an election year coming right up.
Exactly right. You know, Matt, back on a healthy initiative, on this initiative itself, from afar, you know, watching from Santa Fe, what struck you about that, the atmospherics of it? You know, who was winning, who was losing? Did it have a chance from early on?
On
What was your
the
sense of it?
Albuquerque vote,
Yeah.
on the healthy cities?
Yeah.
It seemed like it was going to be tough.
Okay.
I think. And again, I think I at least personally trace that back to the economy. You know, when you're getting a lot of this opposition from the folks who are saying, you know, I can't afford to have someone taking a lot of days. I don't know if I buy some of that rhetoric, but it was sellable, I
Right.
think, and I think, you know, enough of the public was concerned
Right.
that ultimately they just said not right now.
That's right. And part of that pitch, Inez, was the idea that, you know, we don't want sick people going to work.
Right.
No one could disagree with that. That you know,
No.
it's a problem. But at the same time, the business owners I heard from, the real issue for them was granting these things to part-time folks. That was a real hang-up for them. You know, it's one thing for full-time people, but part-time is sort of that thing, almost like a trial. You earn your way into full-time work. And to have that kind of thing, they felt like a lot of gamesmanship was going to be on the table. It was a tough one for business people.
It is tough, but I can tell you that when you're a person who doesn't get paid if they don't work, you go to work. My mom was a waitress, and if she didn't work, she didn't get paid.
That's right.
And unless there are benefits for workers, you're going to have sick people at work, and you're going to have them in untenable situations. And perhaps if businesses would just offer that themselves, we wouldn't need laws.
There you go. Now, in a moment, we will continue with the next topic in our annual countdown.